Every empire believes it will last forever. Every king thinks his name will be etched into eternity, but even the mightiest walls can crumble, and the most radiant crowns can tarnish. The story of the Achaemenid Persian Empire is a testament to this truth, a tale of how the greatest power on earth fell not just to the swords of its enemies, but to the slow, creeping poisons of time, greed, and pride. Our journey into the heart of this fallen giant begins not at its end, but at the zenith of its power, with a king whose name still echoes through the corridors of history, Xerxes the Great. When Xerxes inherited the throne from his father, Darius, he inherited not just a kingdom, but an ambition as vast as the lands he ruled. Persia was already a marvel of the ancient world, a sprawling empire that stretched from the Indus Valley to the shores of Greece. It was a mosaic of peoples, cultures, and religions, all held together by a revolutionary system of governance, a network of royal roads, and a doctrine of relative tolerance. But for Xerxes, it wasn't enough. He looked west, towards the fractious city-states of Greece, and saw a challenge to his absolute authority. The invasion he mounted was unlike anything the world had ever seen. A fleet so large it was said to form a bridge across the Hellespont, and an army so numerous that ancient historians claimed it drank rivers dry. This was more than a war, it was a crusade, a clash of civilizations that would shape the destiny of the West. At the heart of this epic conflict was a narrow coastal pass called Thermopylae. It was here that a small, defiant force of Greeks, led by 300 Spartans under King Leonidas, made their legendary stand. They knew they couldn't win. They knew they were facing a tidal wave of Persian might. But they stood anyway. For 3 days, they held the pass, their discipline and valor becoming a symbol of resistance against overwhelming odds. In the end, they were betrayed and outflanked. The Spartans fell to the last man. Xerxes had his victory, but it was a hollow one. The defiance of those 300 warriors ignited a fire in the hearts of the Greeks. The Battle of Thermopylae wasn't just a military engagement. It became a rallying cry, a myth that fueled the Greek will to fight. Though Persia would go on to sack Athens, burning the Acropolis to the ground, its momentum was broken. The subsequent naval defeat at Salamis and the land battle at Plataea forced the Persians into a humiliating retreat. Xerxes returned to an empire that was still immensely powerful, but the cracks were beginning to show. The failed Greek campaign was a staggering blow to Persian prestige and a massive drain on its treasury. The aura of invincibility that had surrounded the great king was shattered. What followed was a slow, grinding decline, a century of internal strife and external pressures. The very size of the empire, once its greatest strength, now became a source of weakness. Rebellions flared up in Egypt, Babylonia, and other satrapies, forcing the Persian kings to constantly fight to hold their vast domain together. The court at Persepolis, once a symbol of imperial majesty, became a hotbed of intrigue and corruption. Kings were assassinated by their own guards, brothers schemed against brothers for the throne, and powerful satraps ruled their provinces like personal fiefdoms, often defying the central authority. The immense wealth that flowed into the treasury was squandered on lavish lifestyles and endless wars, while the intricate bureaucracy established by Cyrus and Darius grew bloated and inefficient. The empire was sick from within, its foundations slowly being eaten away by political decay and moral rot. And then, from the north, a storm gathered. A new power was rising in Macedonia, forged by a brilliant and ruthless king named Philip II. But it was his son who would deliver the final fatal blow to the ailing Persian giant, a young man whose ambition dwarfed even that of Xerxes and whose military genius remains unparalleled in history: Alexander the Great. When Alexander crossed into Asia Minor, he wasn't just leading an army, he was unleashing a force of nature. His campaign was a whirlwind of lightning-fast marches and decisive, brutal battles. At Granicus, at Issus, and finally at Gaugamela, he faced the vast armies of the Persian king, Darius III, and shattered them. Alexander's tactics were revolutionary, his leadership inspirational, and his determination absolute. He didn't just defeat the Persian armies, he systematically dismantled the empire, city by city, province by province. Darius III, the last king of the Achaemenid dynasty, became a fugitive in his own empire, hunted by Alexander's relentless advance. He was eventually betrayed and murdered by one of his own satraps, a tragic and ignominious end for the ruler of what was once the most powerful kingdom on earth. With Darius dead, the path was clear. Alexander marched on the ceremonial heart of the empire, the jewel of Persia, the city of Persepolis. Nestled in the mountains, Persepolis was not just a capital, it was a statement. A magnificent complex of palaces, treasuries, and grand halls, adorned with intricate carvings that celebrated the unity and power of the empire. It was here that kings were crowned, and here that tributes from every corner of the known world were brought. It was the symbol of Persian glory, a city built to inspire awe for 1,000 years. But its end would come in a single night of fire and fury. In a decision that is still debated by historians, Alexander the Great ordered Persepolis to be burned. Was it a calculated act of political revenge for the burning of Athens a century and a half earlier? Was it a drunken whim at a victory banquet, as some ancient sources suggest? Or was it a cold, strategic move to signal to the world that the Achaemenid dynasty was well and truly over, its legacy reduced to ashes? Whatever the reason, the result was utter devastation. Flames engulfed the colossal structures. The magnificent cedar-wood roofs of the Hall of 100 Columns collapsed in a shower of sparks. Statues of kings and mythical beasts toppled into the inferno. The heat was so intense, it cracked the very stones of the palaces. The wealth of an empire, plundered and stored for generations, was either carried away or consumed by the blaze. As smoke filled the crimson sky, the immortal city of Persepolis, the heart of Persia, fell silent. The flames that destroyed Persepolis marked the end of an era. The Achaemenid Empire, which had dominated the world for over 2 centuries, was no more. But an idea, a legacy, is harder to destroy than stone and wood. The fire could not erase the influence of Persia. Its pioneering concepts of a centralized, multicultural empire, its efficient postal system, its promotion of a universal road network, and its principles of religious tolerance were not lost. They lived on, absorbed and adapted by the very conquerors who brought about its downfall. The Roman Empire would later adopt many Persian administrative techniques. The concept of a divine right to rule, so central to Persian kingship, would echo in the monarchies of Europe for centuries, and its religious ideas, particularly the Zoroastrian concept of a cosmic struggle between good and evil, light and darkness, would profoundly influence the development of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. For centuries, the ruins of Persepolis lay buried under layers of sand and forgotten by the world, its story told only in the texts of its Greek conquerors. But its whispers never truly faded. Today, as archaeologists carefully uncover its secrets and tourists wander among its broken pillars, Persepolis stands once more, not as a symbol of power, but as a poignant reminder. A reminder of glory lost, of the fragility of empire, and of the enduring legacy of a civilization that taught the world how to build, how to rule, and ultimately, how to endure even in ruin. It is a story of a fall, but also a story of a legacy that was never forgotten. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this journey into the past as fascinating as I did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more stories from the annals of history. See you next time.